Alexander Alekhine plays some amazing tactics in this match against Richard Reti. So Alekhine is playing with the black pieces here and Reti with the white pieces here. So b3 was played, which is an unusual opening. It's the Hungarian opening, which is not played that much. And reverse Alekhine is played by Alekhine in response. But this pawn is pushed here, hitting this knight, and the knight jumps here to d4, and d5 is pushed here, and now Alekhine have this nice little center into white camp. So d3 is pushed by Reti, trying uh, dismantle this pawn structure in his camp. So after e into d3, queen captures the d3 pawn, and knight comes to f6 now. So bishop fianched to g2, which was the intention of playing g3 in the first move here, and allows white to castle on the king side. Bishop to b4 check is played. Bishop covers the check, and bishops are exchanged off, and knight captures back, developing the knight in the process. So castles on the king side, Alekhine, and pawn is pushed to c4 here, bringing in more pressure on the central d5 pawn. So knight goes to a6 is played here. Usually you develop the knight towards the center, but the idea is to bring the knight into the center, attacking the queen, and or into these squares, attacking the queen and this particular pawn, and this pawn is already attacked twice. So once the pawn is captured here, you could go for the capture of this particular pawn with the knight here, but Alekhine goes for the knight to b4 move, attacking the queen and his pawn at the same time. And once the queen moves here to c4, this knight captures this pawn earlier captured, and knight to b3 is played. Now both these knights are connected and are pretty active on the board. c6 is played here, supporting the knight and keeping it cemented in the center. Now Reti castles on the king side, and pretty late castling 13th move. Rook comes to e8 by Alekhine, and rook to d1 is played by Reti now, creating an extra attack on Alekhine's queen over here. So bishop comes to g4, attacking this pawn here, not allowing this pawn to be pushed here, and rook now comes to d2 and pinning the pawn, and queen gets away to c8, creating this battery with the bishop, trying to target this nice little defender bishop on g2. So knight comes to c5 is played, and bishop goes to h3, trying to capture the bishop. Reti didn't want to exchange that bishop off, and after the following dogfight, basically bishop goes to h1, keeping the bishop safe and keeping the king guarded in its place. So h5 is played now, pushing the pawn here and trying to attack and dismantle the pawn structure of this castle king, which is already a little bit weakened with this pawn push and with the bishop behind. So b4 is played in response by Reti, launching his pawn structure on the queen side, and pawn push to a6 is played here, trying to neutralize this pawn push over here, and rook comes to c1 is played now. So Alekhine just pushes h4, and after which a4 is pushed, and after the pawn captures, h pawn captures back. Queen to c7 is played now, eyeing this weak pawn over here, because the idea is that when you have this pawn structure, it's always possible to do a sacrifice, and b5 is played in response, trying to attack the pawn structure, and after the a pawn captures the b5 pawn, it's captured back, and rook to e3 is now played, not looking to capture this pawn here, opening up the line for the c file for this battery of the queen and the rook, and instead rook to e3. A brilliant move is played here, and here the idea is that if you capture with the rook like this, queen will go with place the check, and after the bishop covers, knight will jump in here, attacking the queen and also threatening checkmate over here. So because of that, you cannot capture this particular rook, which is a poison piece, and it's also looking to go ahead and capture this pawn here, and the same scenario will repeat here, and because of that, you need to prevent this rook from capturing this pawn here. So knight comes to f3 is played here, where the best move was to bring the bishop here and attack this light square bishop here, but knight move was played, and in this position Alekhine is slightly better, and after that the pawn is captured back and queen captures back here. So here the best move was to bring the queen here and attack the rook, but he didn't go for that line and captured the pawn back, which allows knight to jump to c3, attack the queen. Queen comes in here and captures the b7 pawn, and after that queen exchange, knight to is now in b7, and this allows this pawn to be captured with a check, and once the king moves here, knight to e4 is played now. So this rook is hanging. It's also possible to capture this particular rook, but he didn't go for either of those, and he brings his knight into the game. So rook to c4 is played, double attacking this knight and also this bishop here. So knight jumps here to f2 here, supporting this bishop here and also capturing the pawn. Bishop comes to g2, and after that, bishop drop backs to e6, attacking the rook here. So rook goes to c2, creating an attack with a battery of attack on this particular knight, and both these knights are here. So if you move one, you're not going to lose. So knight first goes to g4 with a check, and king comes to h3, and knight e5 check is played. A discovered check on the white king, and king goes to h2, and rook captures this knight is played here. So instead of going for the capture of this particular uh, uh, you know uh, piece, in which you lose that for you lose two pieces for a rook, and it's not that good in an endgame. This piece was captured off by the rook here, and now knight jumps to g4 with a check, and after that knight to e3 is played, and king goes back here, and this rook is gone, and instead of that rook, this rook here is captured here on f3. So knight now jumps to d4, and immediately Reti resigns the game. I'll tell you why. Because the king will have to go to g1 here, because I'll show you what will happen if you try to defend the bishop with the rook like this. And after this exchange, the rook will be in line with the bishop here, and the bishop move will capture one of these pawns, one of this piece here. Rook cannot go in here because the bishop is covering this square over here, and there is no way to support this knight, and the knight will fall and it will be winning. So because of that, he resigned from as of this position, because he'll be losing one of the piece anyway. So after that, he's up by a bishop and a pawn, and it's simply winning for Alekhine. So because of that, as of this position, he resigned the game, and Alekhine won the match. Great tactics by Alekhine, attacking both these pieces, knowing that you can basically fork both of these with your bishop and capture one of these pieces. So that's the game. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more such videos.